Then epoxied my screwdriver to the package. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. Right now I'm actually laying in the 208 here. Well, at least halfway laying in the 208. It's about as much room as I have in here. We're not here to take a nap. We got a few things to look at, so let's have a go. So what we have here is a 208 Adventurer with a 250 Yamaha. It's basically the 20-foot cabin boat Grady Weight makes. Never been a huge fan of these because I think this is kind of a waste of space to me. But if you have young kids or anything else, this actually works pretty well. As you see before, I can't barely fit in here. This does work really well for storage. As you can see here, he's got a lot of stuff gathered in here. This one's got all the usual stuff. You got the old Garmin, Fusion, your Yamaha gauge. Of course, you got trim tabs, all of our switches, which is where we're gonna go to here, because our first thing on our list is horn not working. But let's go turn some batteries on before we even push buttons, because they're not gonna work without juice. The battery switches on these Grady Weights are usually in a little cutout where the speaker is, but we must have moved it and put it up under the gunnel. Flip that on. So let's push our horn button again. I don't hear any horn. Looks like our horn's right there on the other side of the windshield. I think to get to that, we're gonna have to go back in that cabin. Looks like that windshield wiper right there. There's probably a cutout or something we can access, so let's look. Yeah, it looks like we have whatever that is. More cutouts. That's probably just for holding the T-top in place. But this guy right here, let's get that off of there. Here, I just pulled the last screw out. There we go. Oh, look at that. There's our wiring for our wiper. We don't need that. I can just barely see. There's our gray wire right here for our horn. Let's see what we got here. Oh, there's our connection. There's a couple ways we could do this. We could push the button, see if we got power going to it, or we can just shoot power to the horn and see if the horn works. One or the other. We're gonna have to test either side no matter what, but let's see if the horn works first. Let's get our meter out here. Part of the mess in my bag here. I'll reorganize that from a million jobs. We should have some batteries in here. Get everything out of the way. Yeah, there's one of them. There we go. Let's get back in our cabin. Undo the power wire. So now we should be able to hear the horn if I light it up here. We got nothing. So it doesn't seem like the horn is working. Let's at least check and see if we have our ground here. Yep, got good ground. Now what I'll do is we'll go push the switch and we'll see if we can hear this thing, our power probe, light up. Then we know we have power and ground from the switch. We got a bad horn. Alright, I got her in the connector there. Let's push the button and see if she makes some noises. Yep, so we got good power to our horn here. We need a new horn. So before I fix all this here, let's move on here and see what's next on our list. And that would be our trim tab controller. He said this is loose, which it's actually not loose, it's completely broken. So we definitely need to replace this because we don't want to have water getting into the pad here. He also says it intermittently works. So let's turn our key on. So our lights are on. You can hear the pump below us. I don't think you can hear it very well on the camera, but right up here, that's that control box that's anonymous for failing. You can hear the pump. Oh, about every other one, it doesn't do anything right there. Nothing. Nothing. Then it's working. So we're definitely gonna need a switch pad here and the control box for it. We'll swap both those out. Everything should be good. Sounds like the motor's running good. We'll also double check on the back for leaks. Next is up here. You must have a VHF up here. Yep, so VHF. That'll be the handle when the door's open. But this thing's all rusty and looks like crap, so we're gonna take it off and we'll have the gel coat guys fix this spot on here. Don't hurt the mic just sitting up here. We could also mount something up here to hold that if we needed to, but that's up to the customer. So that's simple enough, we'll take care of that. Next thing on our list, live well pump not working. So the breaker's not popped. I can see a little light. I don't know if I can see it in the camera. Let's go find the bait well in the back and do the same thing that we did with the horn. In the very back transom here, got two access plates. And there's our pump. It's got a Deutsch connector, so let's pull that apart. So we should be able to just put our little, yep, got voltage and ground. So our pump here is failed, which actually makes it pretty easy because these just undo on the top here. Just push this little button. There we go. Looks like everything is good here. Let's see if we can get it to run. So we got our meter and our ground hooked up. The meter has a little ground I can use on it. Yeah, we're not moving. So we need a pump and a horn so far, control box and a trim tab, control pad. And this is an 800 gallon an hour. We'll get one of those. The last thing on our list here, this trim piece here, which I think I have some in the back. We got rolls of this stuff because it's on all the Grady whites in certain areas. That came off, came unglued. We'll have to clean that. It has this 3M sticky stuff on the back, so we'll get some of that. To the front of the passenger seat behind the door. Close this up. Oh yeah, I can see it. He said this is also coming off. That looks like it just epoxy down there. So we can re-epoxy that back on there real easily. No big deal there. So let me run inside and we'll get what we need and start with the horn just like we did at the beginning of the video. Alright, we got our parts here. At least the stuff we need. We might have to stall on replacing this and our control box for our trim tabs. We gotta get customer approval. None of the stuff's warranty. The code is A2019. But he did give us approval for the bait well pump for sure. And the horn. And to fix our little trim pieces. Here's some of that trim that came off that I was showing you. We got some 5-minute epoxy. That should work pretty well to put the other trim piece back on. So let's get our horn going. Alright, let's cut these off so they'll come through the hole when we remove it. Alright, let's mosey our way up front here. Looks like there's just 2 screws holding her on. Get those out of there. There, we got those out. It should just peel off of here. Yeah, you see a little hole. If you want to cut those wires, you'd be fighting that. You'd probably have to pull that silicone out with it. We don't want to do that because we're going to redo this. Add more silicone. So there's no reason to open that up all the way again. We can just shove our wires in. Let's get this cleaned up a little bit. So that extra silicone off there we ain't going to need. Be careful if you're going to use a razor blade. I might have done this before, but you can really wreck fiberglass pretty easily with a razor blade. That's not good. A little cleaner. Might fall this down real good. Make sure that silicone's going to adhere to it. Usually a brake cleaner or acetone. Lots of different things you could use that really don't hurt the fiberglass any. Now let's see if our wire will fit in our little hole. Shouldn't be a problem. Go. Put that in there before we put some silicone around everything here. Looks like somebody used white silicone before, but we're going to use clear because these boats are kind of an almond color. They're definitely not white. Grady White's known for the color of their boat for sure. There we go. Try to get that in there without touching it. Alright, let's get some screws in there. This one's kind of at an angle over here. Alright, she's good and tight. Let's wipe that extra silicone off of here. There we go. Let's get in the cabin here. Hook it up. We are in. We got our tools. Got our special heat shrink connectors that are going to go to our horn. And our wire has disappeared. Let's see if I can get it out of there. There it is. Silicone and all. Alright, so what I've done is I'm using blue connectors, so I've twisted these and folded them over so that they'll bite really good. We have no problem with connection issues or anything. There's 1 and 2. Give these a little bit of heat here. Being this is in the cabin and it's already sealed up, still want to protect them because we are in a pretty bad environment here in Florida. Being that these are not labeled, I don't think it makes a difference which way you hook it up, but let's test them before we tie this wiring up, because I'm going to tie that up too since I'm in here. Let's push our button. Well, that's good news. Let me tie this up and we'll continue on here. There we go. We are tied up. Get the other side tied up also. Keep everything out of the way from bouncing around or trying to make itself loose. We can put our cover back on. And there we go. Horn is done. So let's move on to our bait well. And I need to get out of this hole here because it is hot. So this isn't too big a deal here. We're going to reuse our connector here. Put some new ends on our wiring. One thing I'm going to do is twist this wiring because I don't like when you just tie it up like that. I'm going to do the same thing in the bilge, but I like to twist all these. Keeps everything together real nicely. We got our Deutsch connector kit here. These are the little connectors we need. So I've got my wire twisted here. We got our ends on. No big deal there. We just got to make it the same as this one. We can reuse this, it's not a problem because this one is in good shape. So you pull that little green piece out of there with a pick or something, and there's little tabs that you can pull those out with. Makes it real easy. So if you ever need to figure out how to get those out, they literally all will have either these or these green tabs, and they all just pop out. You usually just take a pick to it. Oh, that time didn't work. See, it just pops right out. Dump it, and looking inside there, those little tabs right there. You just push down on them. Once you push them down, you can just slide it right out of there. And since we got a new one, and we don't mess up which wire goes to which, and there we go. This isn't always the easiest. Sometimes you gotta use gravity and kind of lay this down. You can get a little tiny tool, a little pair of pliers or something, and grab that. A lot of times I'll just let her kind of fall in there. You can just move it around with your pick. There we go. Push it right down. And that's it. Let's go hook her up and see if it works. We're gonna lay the pump here. That way we can just plug it in. Live well. She's a burning. Now, stick her back in her home. And that's it. Grab a zip tie, we'll tie our wiring up here. Yeah, so what I like to do with this, see I tied a bundle of it up there, but I left a little bit of it loose, so if you have to pull that pump out, you can actually get to it. And then you can pull that and clean it, do whatever you got, so it's not tied tight where you won't be able to get it out. And keep the connector up high where it's not going to get wet. Alright, so now, let's do our trim here. Before we jump onto this here, we're going to clean this all up. Let's take that piece off there. Suppose a few gel coat spots. Well, this is one included, and they're going to detail it. Pull this rusty old thing off of here. She's hanging on. There we go, then I can fix that. It takes a little bit of time for gel coat. Okay, so now we have this stuff, which I could just cut exactly like this, but it's not going to match because over time this stuff shrinks a little bit. So if I cut it, it'll actually be short. So what I like to do is actually clean all this off and just start from here and go and just cut it right at this. So that way you don't have any gap or anything. It turns out better that way. So let me get this all cleaned up. It's really just dirt and crap in here from it being loose. And what I'm going to do is put a little silicone right at our seams on both sides just to make sure that it doesn't want to peel up again. Alright, let's put a little bit here at the edge. We'll stick her down. Should be able to butt it right against it. There we go. I use a little bit of tape or something to hold this down too. So I probably have to because this stuff wants to curl, being that it's been sitting. in the shop rolled up for a while. So we get that corner good. I'll just follow along here. Got some pretty strong adhesive behind it. On this side, I'm going to actually put a little bit of that Grady silicone right there. We'll keep that down. I'm going to go grab some tape. That way we can just tape this so it won't want to come up on us. And I'll put a little bead right here. Alright, we are taped up. Let that cure. We'll be able to peel it off tomorrow. Nice and tight. And we got a little bit of sealer. I actually put some right there too so we don't get water down in that crack or anything. And we're nice and sealed all the way up here. This is actually the Grady white, I think they call it almond. It's basically just silicone. It does not seal stuff. So if you ever get some of this stuff for Grady white, don't use it as a sealer. It's basically just for to make things pretty. You're going to want to use a Life Seal or something like this. This stuff's pretty good. It doesn't shrink or crack or do anything. It's made for above and below the waterline. This is basically just bathtub sealer. So really our last things here are that trim piece, which we'll do right now, and our trim tab controller here, and the control box, which is bad. But I don't have approval for that or the control box. You can look back through my videos pretty quick and see I've done all of the diagnosing on these Bennett systems that you can. So if you really want to know anything about them, just look back. You'll see I definitely have replaced a bunch of these. So let's do our final thing here. This old epoxy is what it looks like. Didn't adhere too good, or it broke free, or something caught it, whatever. Basically this stuff right here is what we're going to use, the old 5-minute general purpose. Should work pretty well. Let's mix this all up and we'll stick it in here, and we'll use something to hold her together, and it should set up just fine. So there we go. Jam the rope in there. I got the bucket wedged. We'll let that cure up, and then I'll take that pretty silicone again, and we'll just run a bead along here to try to save it from getting more stuff down here, maybe releasing that. I don't know if that's what happened, or it just came free over time, or the weather got it, whatever. Well, that was the final thing we can do until the customer approves. I gotta clean all my mess up here. Pile of fun over here too. And that concludes today's activities. I actually got a video for you here at the end. I'll show you. I found some lost footage I've had for easily 7 to 10 years, probably, some of these videos. I'll put them through the videos as we go here, and I'll show you one that's actually from when I worked at a place called Suncoast Marine Center. They're a big E-Tech dealer, Yamaha and Mercury now. Good place, actually, really local. They do really good work. I got a couple friends that still work there. But one of my friends was with me, and he was filming. It was easily 10 years ago, like I say, so enjoy. And as always, I appreciate everybody watching. Later.